Hi, it's Ileana. So today I'm going to talk about what I have been working on in remote viewing projects. So recently I was tasked to remote view apparently an individual who is part of the disclosure, part of congressional disclosure, I would say, in congressional hearings, stuff like that. Not, I can't say who the name was because this was something I was tasked with. Like I was given a project and I didn't know who or what I'm remote viewing until after the fact. But this was something very different because I was tasked apparently to remote view an individual who is key in congressional hearings and stuff. So again, I didn't know that I was remote viewing a person. When I started to do the remote viewing, I zeroed in on the sky, and I saw triangular craft that had 3 layers of energy fields around them, like cloaking shields. It felt like cloaking shields to me, and that's what I wrote. And there was a huge triangular craft in the middle of the sky and 2 smaller ones flying in a almost like a squadron type of a formation. Squadron formation, that's the best way I can describe what I was seeing. So that's what I drew and wrote down. And I was seeing electromagnetic nacelle drive propulsion systems. The propulsion of these crafts on the sides of them, because they're triangular, and in the middle a bigger one. Electromagnetic generator capacitor drive system propulsion. So this is anti-gravity, but these crafts are cloaked. And I saw metallic spheres, reflective spheres, following these crafts. And those are not cloaked. And it's over a massive area of land, sky, and what felt like water to me. So when I zeroed in on this location, I got that it's the Gulf of Mexico where this was happening, where those things were flying, and that the metallic spheres are tracking the cloaked triangular crafts. Their purpose is to track what is cloaked flying over airspace of the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico is huge, apparently, in air control, air traffic control, and in the water. I got massive land and massive water areas where these crafts fly over. And so it was interesting. It's really interesting because it's like, okay, I'm getting stuff about crafts, about spheres, about surveillance. And I've zeroed in as if this was something that was told to somebody or seen through someone's eyes, which was confusing to me. I'm like, is this a live action target? Is this something that happened in the past? Or is this something that I'm seeing or hearing through a filter system of something that was told to somebody? Like a real person was told this information and given it for the purpose of maybe disclosing it or maybe doing something with the information. So it was a confusing target. So I wrote down and drew everything that I saw about these triangular crafts and the spheres, and that ended that target. And then I sent the target to the tasker who tasked me to do it, and then I was told that the target was a person that I was supposed to remote view, and that the information that I got is apparently from information from this person of what they were told or might have seen or heard that was shared with them. So to me, I'm like, okay, this is what came out of the target. I got information about triangular crafts and spheres, tracking those cloaked crafts as something that this person, because of their role in congressional hearings and what they have access to, they might have seen, heard about, maybe were told confidentially, or even in a skiff, secure, confidential, private location that is for top clearance debriefings. They have skiff facilities in U.S. military government settings where individuals who have the need to know are briefed on security matters, military matters, UFOs, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, or whatever the latest name that they're calling it. So this person was given information either in confidence or in a skiff about this stuff, is what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't really know. All I know is what I saw in the target, that person is associated with or given information about. It's not their direct experience of them seeing triangles and spheres. It's with what is within their sphere of knowing, of information that was given to them, as what the tasker explained to me. Is this was weird. This was a weird target. I've never gotten information by remote viewing a person, and through remote viewing a person, from what they were told, getting information about a target. This is like new to me. I've never had this happen to me. I didn't even know that this was happening like that. I'm like, okay, I'm remote viewing the Gulf of Mexico and seeing like what's coming in as the Gulf of Mexico and seeing triangles and spheres. But this was through a person's consciousness of what was told to them and what they have in knowledge. I'm like, okay, that's that. But something kept niggling in the back of my head. It's like, okay, but I think there's something more to this. Sometimes my instincts on a target will say, well, okay, you finished a project, you were tasked something, you did it, the work is completed, the target is done. But again, these spheres, these metallic spheres, I kept seeing them. Like this has been happening throughout the years or something. So I actually went and decided to do my own remote viewing project on the Gulf of Mexico without any tasking, without any specific targets or anything, just what the heck is going on in the Gulf of Mexico. And so when I went to the large body of water and air and sky in the Gulf of Mexico, like the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, somewhere about there, again, I saw those spheres. This time they weren't tracking anything cloaked, but I saw several spheres. They looked slightly different. They looked a bit different than several of the spheres that had been tracking the triangle, but similar. They had like lens cameras on them and stuff. And I got both human and non-human operations monitoring the environment of the Gulf of Mexico, because there's something happening in the water in the Gulf of Mexico that has to do with flux portals and energy shifts in the water, electrical fields, power shifts in the water, and that is being tracked by these spheres. And I saw a military science vessel lowering a bunch of equipment underwater to monitor this portal stuff and whatever power shifts, energy surges that are happening in the water, to track it with a type of an energetic measuring huge device being lowered from the vessel, connected to the vessel underwater, and an elevator type system going down underwater so they can get down from the vessel deep underwater to investigate all of this. I'm not aware of any military vessels, scientific vessels, that have the capacity to lower an elevator to be able to go down with science teams, but that's the equipment they have, and they have a lot of cargo holds. This is a big science military vessel. It's either still out in the Gulf of Mexico or it was out there at some point doing scientific research, and these spheres were above it, also taking mapping, surveillance, and telemetry of what's going on in the air and the water. And that was a project done on my own, without any taskers, without anything as a specific target, but that's what I got. And it's kind of that second piece of that puzzle. So what would triangles, cloaked triangular crafts, large and small, surveillance spheres, human and non-human made, be doing out there in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico? And then some type of a military science study vessel with a lot of advanced equipment being taken underwater to study flux portals, energy surges, energy shifts and power shifts with electrical currents in the water. So something is going on in the Gulf of Mexico that has to do with the environment itself in that area where a bunch of triangular crafts and spheres are congregating to monitor these areas or to surveil the land, the water, and the air to monitor this stuff. And there's military scientific missions to study what's in the water. It is complex, it's interesting, and it's layered in information of what this could be. So I think it has to do with UFOs, it has to do with non-human intelligences, it has to do with portals and surveillance. And then after I finished that remote viewing, I'm like, is there any incidents or incidences of metallic reflective spheres being reported by commercial pilots or other pilots in the vicinity of Mexico or the Gulf of Mexico? And so I typed in as keyword search phrases on the internet, spheres flying over the Gulf of Mexico, and I got nothing, except that there's a history of a triangular craft flying over the United States quite a bit, in Belgium, like a lot of black color triangular craft. That was the article that popped up. I'm like, okay, that's interesting history, which I saved because there were triangular craft flying over the Gulf of Mexico in the first target remote viewing, but that's not giving me information about the Gulf of Mexico. So I typed, and I kept using this same keyword search phrase, and it was getting me nowhere. So then I typed in metallic spheres flying over the Gulf of Mexico, and it gave me a report from case sightings of commercial pilots from 2009 and 10 reporting seeing various types of metallic spheres that would change color and were silver and other colors flying over Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico. So something is connecting from what I'm seeing in remote viewing of activity in the Gulf of Mexico with actual case sighting reportings by pilots reporting spheres flying over the Gulf of Mexico and Mexico itself. There's a lot of UFO activity over there, especially in that area. And what this individual, who is part of the congressional hearings and part of Congress itself, was briefed on. So what they were briefed on is correct. It is actual phenomenon happening out there in the environment off the Gulf of Mexico and in the Gulf of Mexico, where pilots are seeing metallic spheres and orbs, apparently, and reporting that in case sightings. So there is documentation of stuff like that happening in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, I'm not familiar with spheres or orbs or anything of UAPs in the Gulf of Mexico. That is new to me. But I like to investigate after all the remote viewing is completed. If there's any actual factual data to back up what was remote viewed, and there is. Actual spheres being reported, metallic reflective spheres. And I did get metallic reflective spheres in my remote viewing, both times. The task target and the non-task target of follow-up that I did on my own time. That wasn't a project that was tasked to me. I did a follow-up because I felt there was more to what I was seeing in the air of the triangular crafts and the spheres, that something was happening underneath, like water. So I took a deep dive, and yes, there is. So this was a very interesting target. It was supposed to be only one part target that was tasked to me as a blind target, but it turned into another investigative project on my own that revealed more things. And I can't claim to understand what's really going on because I'm not briefed on the operations of what's happening in the Gulf of Mexico. I just now know what I learned from these two targets and the pilot sightings. So there's obviously something deep going on in the Gulf of Mexico, technologically, naturally, and it's being investigated by the military and scientists. It's being surveilled by spherical probes, human and non-human made probes. And there's triangular craft flying over in those areas, probably investigating that same stuff, or maybe even something more than that that's going on in the Gulf of Mexico. So those are the results of what I have. And that's what I know from the information that came out from that individual. And again, I'm not going to say the name of that individual. This was a private target that was tasked to me. And I asked if I'm allowed to talk about it publicly, and I was told yes, as long as I don't name the person's name who I was tasked to remote view, and I won't. That was the agreement. I can't name the person. I can describe what was in the targets. That I can reveal, but not the person's name, because I usually don't reveal people's names in targets for privacy and protection, and I'm not allowed to reveal the name. So I can't say who the person is, but they're high level in congressional stuff, in hearings, and they might be playing a even higher role in the future. because people are interested in them, to get this person in skiffs and tell them things, to disclose. This person is hearing things from higher ups that have things to share with them. That's the impression I got from the remote viewing, that individuals, special types of individuals, are very interested in this person to disclose to them things of security nature in skiffs and in confidence, that they'll be playing a bigger role in disclosure and Congress and Senate in what comes out at some point. So they're now on the board. They're now on the board of attention. There's special types vying for their attention to disclose things to them. So this person is going to be sort of like maybe they're trying to use that person as a mouthpiece to disclose certain things that certain groups want to be disclosed. And that person does not want to be used as a mouthpiece. They're not interested in that. They're wanting to know the truth and figure it out before they go any further in anything deeper. That's what I got from the remote viewing. It was just, I thought it's just, those are impressions. I'm getting impressions of something. I didn't think it was important to the remote viewing, but apparently it was, because I was tasked to remote view a person and I didn't know that. So that's the person's impressions about what's going on in their field of identification and knowledge-based gathering of intelligence and information being shared with them. So that's the other part of the remote viewing, which should have been focused on, but I thought that's just impressions. It's not the main part of the remote viewing. But I noted that and jotted it down as well, because maybe it has some importance. How would I know? This target is blind. I know nothing. I'm just reporting on what I'm seeing. So that was that. But that's interesting information as well, I think. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the disclosure arena and what's being disclosed to us. Thank you so much.